Well, basically I joined in 2004 towards the end, coming from the brief stint in the fishing industry. And Bidvest was obviously the shareholder indirectly, but wasn't that strong an indirect influence as it happened a bit later. So I was really focused on Manica with the various business units that it had at the time already. Quite a heavy structure because of past history with fishing industry focuses. So we had 2 clearing and forwarding companies, 2 ships agency entities. So that basically all needed to be consolidated because obviously the fishing industry was going through some heavy waters. And that was really the start to my stint at Manica. Started as the FD, and then unfortunately Thomas Templin passed away in the following year, actually just a couple of months after I joined. And then basically I was appointed as the MD in mid-2005.
Were you ready for that from FD, where you knew exactly how big the company was and all the challenges, and now suddenly into this managing director role?
Yeah, at the end of the day, it was always something that I strived for, and I saw it as a challenge, and I presented the strategy to the board, the planned strategy that I had in mind, and that seemed to be accepted by Pete Steyn and the rest of the team at the time. And from that point of view, I felt I had a team in place, a base team, and I was confident that with the people there that we could move Manica forward. I think we did that very well in the years to come.
When was this, more or less?
It was towards the end, 2005, 2006, when we basically started with the activities.
What was the sort of logistics landscape then? What was the focus?
Well, obviously there was a bit of the global view thing of bulk moving into containers. Some of the fishing industry clients that were shipping bulk moved into containers, and that obviously all affected the group. We had liner services of shipping lines calling Walvis Bay. With Maersk being so strong and we not being involved, they bought P&O Ned Lloyd, which we then lost as a liner agency. So there was a lot of change and a difficult climate also amongst the team to have a little bit of being scared for the future at that time. And I think we set in place a team adding some capacity in key roles, business development, group financial controlling, to get some of the entities and functions better controlled, and then developed a strategy to have a positive attitude, and my famous saying of striving for the ultimate choice, which is what drove me at the end of the day, every day, to ask the question, did Manica, were we the ultimate choice on that day? And sometimes we weren't, sometimes we were. So with that, we hired quite a few people and basically went from strength to strength, gearing for oil and gas and all those activities.
What was the most challenging part?
It was probably turning around the sort of the uncertainty frame of mind that some of the key management was in. And that obviously affected the teams. There was a bit of silo thinking, a bit of complacency because Manica has been around, and maybe that's one of the first messages for the team is make sure you're not becoming a dinosaur, because we all know where they ended. So every day look at the business in its detail, focus on customers, and do the simple things consistently right, as I always said.
Was there anything during your time there that one doesn't want to remember the negative? Anything that was very bad? Anything that was really, I don't want to say disastrous, but things that you'd rather forget?
Well, I'm sure there are a couple, and there have been events where in the freight game you leave a container standing somewhere and it accumulates demurrage or detention. And that immediately adds up, or bad debts and those sort of things that we had to deal with some funny things in containers on their way to Germany when the shipping line suddenly said it's not carrying it can't go into Hamburg, and we needed to react. So yes, the freight industry is a risky business at the end of the day, and specifically in our industry where we incur the disbursements on behalf of customers, and only our very small part is revenue. One had to learn how to deal with it and that risk. And I think at the end of the day, Manica geared themselves in terms of policies and procedures to deal with those risks. So yes, every day was a challenging time, but there's so much reward on the other side.
Your fondest memory during your time in Manica?
My fondest memory is probably a normal day in the office or in Manica. To meet the staff in the morning. When I go around to places, wasn't always in the areas, but doing that, starting from the reception team, just being around the staff, creating a positive attitude. We had the little idea of ringing the bell when sales were realized. That made me very proud when in the MD's office I heard the bell ring. And I usually knew what it was about, but sometimes I didn't, and it was a nice surprise. So that, to me, dealing with the people at Manica and growing them, and sometimes just finding out how somebody's doing, that is probably the fondest memory. There are the staff functions. I know the one employee in the finance area, Thomas. Not sure exactly of his surname anymore, but we had the staff function when we had to pillow fight. It was one of my first functions, and obviously I dearly lost to Thomas. But I still think he made career at Manica, so I didn't hold it against him. But yeah, the staff functions, the customer functions, there was always something going on. So very exciting industry and business to be in, and to be associated with such a strong brand embedded in the Bidvest culture was a real pleasure to lead for roughly 10 years.
Do you have a message for Manica?
I think obviously many things are already being done right, the message is really to look at the business every day, make sure you've got a strategy in place, that the business knows where it's going, that the staff is informed, because communication was something that I focused a lot on with MD presentations and stuff, and I felt that the business knew where they were going. You need to have leads and ideas and pursue them rigorously. And take some bold steps. I think just because many people have taken some bold decisions, that's why Manica could grow to the extent that it has, and represent value to not only the employees but to the region and basically Namibia.